I feel like Giant's guy Pia was definitely like a Blackbeard was definitely have his paws on that arc. So I feel like we're talking about Shanks now. How does could Blackbeard be heavily involved with Elbaf because he's making moves? He even told Lafitte, "Let's make a move." After they were watching the Holy Land Mary Jo. So what do you think, Recon, about Blackbeard and Elbaf?
So, do you think that just similar to whenever I believe it was chapter 956 or yeah, I think it was 956. Whenever he was like, "Yeah, let's go after that fruit," and we were like, "What fruit is that?" And then of course we saw that it was Hancock's fruit. After Wano, do you think that they would want something like Loki's legendary fruit? Because it was even that was something I was thinking about as well when the Holy Knights approached him in this chapter. Like, do they have knowledge of the fruit that Loki's eaten? Because obviously that is considered legendary. Do you think that Blackbeard could potentially be after Loki's fruit, and that could be a catalyst towards him coming here, even besides the Shanks stuff?
Yeah, well, I think the fact that Jaru mentioned how King Harold wanted to be Loki, we don't want it to be Nika, and Loki wanted to be Nika. His Delph fruit definitely has something to do with Nika. Like, it might not be Nika, like because Luffy has that fruit, but it could be something very connected to it, which is why they're asking him.
Like the actual gum fruit. He could have the actual gum fruit, and my chat's brought that up before, and I think that's such a brilliant idea.
Yeah, it's seeing Giant Luffy next to Giant Loki with his legendary Delph fruit would be cool to see in Elbaf too as well. But I think the thing with Blackbeard, I really want Blackbeard to come to Elbaf. But the thing is, I think Oda might do it because he could shock us. But it looks like Oda's trying to lead Blackbeard somewhere else because the whole Caribou plotline is so big. Like Caribou knows about the Pluton and Wano, and Caribou knows about Shirahoshi, Poseidon, and Fishman Island. And now Shanks left Elbaf too, and Luffy wants to know where Shanks is. That's what he's asking Loki. So Shanks is after Blackbeard. He literally was camping outside of Wano like it was Call of Duty, waiting for Blackbeard. So, honestly, I feel like there's so many things that could go on. I feel like Oda already, I think he did an interview where he mentioned like a lot of outside things are gonna happen when it comes to like the Elbaf, and then he's gonna do kind of like Egghead Island where he like looks at the outside plot lines as well. So, I think whatever he does with Blackbeard, it's happening. Pretty much, it's like that one meme. It's happening, guys. We're gonna see something happen with Blackbeard. Like, it's not gonna be no small move. It's gonna be a huge move. Like, him taking out Law was a big move, but it's about to get crazy. And I think it leads to Shanks and Blackbeard, because why build up Shanks in this lookalike for him not to run into Blackbeard finally? Like, the fight that we've been waiting since Marineford and even before that. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see it. Going into your comment on what you talked about with Oda. I mean, even looking at what we're seeing right now, right? Like, we have to go around the world eventually, not just for Blackbeard and for Shanks, but also for Dragon, right? Because it, as specifically stated, when the Holy Knights make their move, so is Dragon, and so we have to see the Revolutionary Army make their move as well. We also know that Sabo is still trying to find Luffy so he can deliver the message from King Cobra about Vivi. And we also understand that eventually, whether it's within Elbaf or around the world, we also have to see what Vivi's up to right now, because that's a major plot point coming out of Egghead as well. So there's a lot of different reasons why we need to go around the world. Who knows when that's going to end up being? But it's definitely going to happen at some point for the reasons you stated. Like, there has to be a reason why so early in this arc we're already seeing the Holy Knights invade. It has to. And especially since this is what we believe is the final arc before we head into the final stretch of like the Laugh Tales and those types, the final wars and things of that nature. This is going to be our last opportunity to really set a lot of stuff off set a lot of stuff up that is going to be paid off later at some point. So I'm right there with you in regards to the around the world segments. And if we do get Shanks versus Blackbeard in this arc in like Egghead style, automatic top 1 arc. No question, bro. That's it, man. Yeah. Automatic, dude.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like that's the thing with Oda right now, because I kind of got the feeling of this in Wano, like a little bit of it, like with the whole outside plot line with the whole rocks and like the warlords being abolished and whatnot. I got the feeling a little bit. And then we got to Egghead Island. I got the feeling a lot with everything that was going on, like Garp versus Aokiji, Kid versus Shanks, Law versus Blackbeard, like Sabo.
The Reverie stuff.
The Reverie stuff, yeah. A lot of it was insane. And then Egghead Island itself was insane with Kizaru, Saturn, and Luffy and Gear 5 and the other Gorosei coming. It felt like the end of One Piece. Like, when I saw Roger fight...
It really did, bro.
Yeah, when I saw Roger fight Whitebeard, like, that felt like surreal, like unreal. And then I saw Egg It Out, and I'm like, this feels like the end of One Piece. We shouldn't be getting these chapters. So I feel like that's the thing with Oda. He think he's trying to connect each arc to how it's gonna end the story of One Piece. And I think Elbaf is the most trickiest one because it looks like he's trying to go the Skypiea route while also going the end of series route with the whole Nika plot line. And my biggest question was with Elbaf so far is, who is he gonna make the final villain? Because I don't think it's gonna be Loki, because Luffy keeps saying Loki's a good guy. Like, is he a good guy? Like, Luffy really wants to like have faith in Loki. And the last chapter with him going against the Holy Knights, I was rooting for Loki. I wasn't really rooting for the Holy Knights.
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you this question, Recon. Like, where do you think Oda is going with Elbaf when it comes to like a villain? Because Oda is known for his iconic villains. Like, where does he go? Is it someone we haven't seen before? Is he gonna go with the Shanks lookalike? Like, where's your head at right now?
Dude, I mean, right now, depending on how long it takes for Luffy to meet up with the Holy Knights, they could very well be one of the major antagonists. I don't know, man. I mean, at this point, I'm right there with you in regards to Loki. He's getting so much. He's getting someone in my chat last week brought up the comparisons with like him and like Roger and Loki specifically, Loki and like Roger and Rox and like the legends that always portray these characters as like being really, really bad people, and then when you meet them, they're like really well. We haven't met Rox yet, but we assume he's probably a really cool dude because the WG always loves like misrepresenting certain characters. And it's similarly in Elbaf. It feels like it's following a similar plot line to even like Zoro at the beginning of the series, where he was referred to as like this relentless like demon that didn't care about anyone, always mercilessly kill everyone, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So it's like Loki, and especially after the last chapter, really feels. I mean, bro, they gave this man a Gear 5 panel, Mac. Like he was laughing with the Gear 5 pose. There's no way, unless Oda's planning like a really cool dynamic with Luffy versus Loki as it progresses, which would be really cool. But right now, I'm sticking with. We're gonna find out who the true final villain of this arc is after the Holy Knights thing happens. I think the Holy Knights thing, specifically with Stabs and Gunko, is going to lead into either A, more of them showing up, or B, is going to bring out who the actual true villain of this arc is, which I don't know is going to be an Elbaf, like somebody from Elbaf, or someone from the outside, because there's also a possibility of like, I don't know, a character. You brought up Blackbeard earlier. Like that's not out of the realm of possibility that like Blackbeard shows up and is the major. I'm not gonna say he's like the final threat of the arc, but like a major threat within the arc. Because if this is the war land, Marineford technically, I mean, we could look at Akainu as like being the quote unquote final villain of that arc. But it was mainly a whole bunch of different obstacles that Luffy had to overcome before getting Ace. And this could very well end up being an arc like that as well, where if Ragnarok goes off and things go crazy, there may not be a single central final villain in Elbaf. It might just be multiple different obstacles that they need to overcome, whether it's this time thing that's been introduced, so like man versus nature, man versus self, with Usopp having to overcome his own fears in order to truly become the brave warrior of the sea that we all expect him to be at the end of this arc, and the stuff between the giants of the old generation and the giants of the new generation, how those ideologies are clashing. So it's like a lot of different elements at play and a lot of different obstacles that he could play with, where this might not be an arc where there is like a true quote unquote final villain, but Oda could surprise me. We could get like someone that we hate as much as Charlos, or someone as cool as Loki or Doflamingo. I don't know, but I do think that the arc, based on the first volume's worth of chapters, feels like it's going to be very, very, very long. So the fact that we're already getting this Holy Knight stuff tells me that they are not going to be the final villains of this thing. At least that's what I think. So I think it's going to be either someone that we have not seen yet from like the Heaven Realm, or an individual that maybe is going to betray someone later on or whatever, or someone from the outside that's going to pop in trying to cash in Money in the Bank, like a Blackbeard or something of that nature. So I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, though, because like you said, Oda is so known for his iconic villains, and especially in the post-time skip, all the way from Hody Jones until now, there has been a main central focus of an antagonist in each individual arc that Luffy has had to defeat. And if this does not happen, that this will be the first arc since Zou where we have gotten through an arc. Well, even Zou, Jack got smoked by Zunisha as like the main central antagonistic force. So it's like this truly would be the first arc where that doesn't happen. So I wonder where your headspace is at.
Well, the thing with me is I thought about this a lot. Like I was thinking about this like whole villain thing because it drives me crazy with this whole thing. Like I'm like, who's gonna be that final villain? Because Egghead Island didn't really have like a final villain esque. It was kind of like Rob Lucci did his part, Kizaru did his part, and Saturn did his part with the other Gorosei. But if you want to give a final villain, you could say Saturn, but it was more like spread out. And I wouldn't mind Elbaf having these similar like aspects where like just more spread out. And then I started thinking about it. I feel like Elbaf's giving me so much Skypiea vibes, and Skypiea is known for its legendary NL villain, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And NL didn't get introduced for quite some time. Like until it was, what was it, like a couple, like 15 chapters into the arc? I mean, obviously he was introduced really early on, but we didn't see him for like quite some time.
Yeah, like I'm like 15 to like 20 chapters in my reread of Skypiea, and I still haven't even seen NL so far. So you're definitely right on that. And then I started thinking, like, because it's giving that Skypiea vibes, I think there actually has to be a main villain. But I feel like a lot of the villains that Oda's saving are like for the final arc. Like he has with that iconic chapter 1121 panel, like when it talks about Vegapunk talking about claiming the One Piece. You see a lot of villains in that that last panel. You see Akainu there. You see Imu there. You could even see Kobe because he's going directly against Luffy too as well. Like not really a villain, but more so like he's going against Luffy in that aspect. But then I started thinking about it, Blackbeard too as well. Then I started thinking about it. Oda, I feel like maybe Oda is showing the villain right in front of our faces with Figureland Garling maybe, because it would be a great way to build him up. Like if you bring in his son as the Holy Knight with the hooded, like looking exactly like Shanks, and then you bring in Figureland Garling, newly appointed Gorosei, who is a legend on God Valley and was on that iconic panel like that we saw all those iconic characters. And then now he's a Gorosei with like newly bestowed maybe MO powers, like a mythical power as well. And the other Gorosei are side-eyeing him as well. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Figureland Garling comes at the end of the arc and becomes that villain. And if he is the strongest Gorosei, or one of the strongest Goroseis, it would definitely be a very worthy villain for Luffy. Because that's the thing with Luffy. Luffy's so strong right now. I think it's crazy to think about it, but he's one of the strongest characters in the series. Like the only thing stopping him is like that time limit. But other than that, Luffy's incredibly powerful. Like even Kizaru knew it. Kizaru had to sneak him some food so he could help the cause, and because Kizaru really didn't want to kill. He really didn't want to kill Vegapunk, so he definitely had to help Luffy out a little bit. But I think Figureland Garling might be that surprise factor. Other than that, maybe you bring in Imu and just end the whole story. But that's what I'm thinking right there. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right there. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that whole situation there. I don't know, Rico, do you have any other thoughts on the whole villain aspect, or should I move on?
I think just one final thought. I love that idea, and I could definitely see maybe just the Holy Knights in general being like the main central antagonistic force. But and I love those two ideas, and the Garling thing sounds exciting as well. Now, the only thing I would add is if Oda continues talking, like, so the past few chapters have focused on the ways of the old versus the ways of the new, and how like the new generation is growing up in a different way than like the warriors of old. And so if there is a villain that's going to come from within Elbaf itself, I think they have to be the representation of the opposite of what Luffy believes in, which Luffy obviously believes in the warriors mindset of old, similar to Loki. So maybe if the villain comes in from within Elbaf itself, they're going to represent like the new era of Elbaf, which are the individuals that are not a part of the warriors of old mentality. And so that would be like the foil to that. But that's the only thought that I have in regards to the potential villain that could be in there, because there's too many question marks right now to really come up with a solidified answer.
I like that point you brought up. And the whole situation, like, we could get like a complete ankle breaker where Oda just brings a new character out of nowhere and then they become the villain, which I wouldn't mind that as well. So there's definitely a lot of directions that Oda can go. Kainu and the Gorosei. If you don't remember, Kainu like kind of pressed the Gorosei back in like at the end of Dressrosa, and he kind of says he says a comment that I never understood till now. He says, "Oh, they went over your heads." And I'm thinking, how do you go over the Gorosei heads? If you like, how's that possible? Then I realized with the whole Shanks and Yonko use our Shanks lookalike using the circle that Saturn used. They have a strong connection to Imu with the whole arrow that she was using as well. And then with the whole Figure Garling being a Gorsei now, that the Gorsei didn't even know he was going to be a Gorsei. They were completely shocked that he did it. Shows that maybe Imu is actually going behind the Gorsei's back and control, because Imu is the on the empty throne. So it looks like Imu is doing things without the Gorsei knowing. And this could lead to Doflamingo and Emperor Down, why they have assassins there. Could the same way the Holy Knights went to Loki, they might have went to Doflamingo and had a connection there too. And that's why when Moria asks, like, where'd you get this order? Sengoku, and he's like, no, higher up. It looks like they might want to kill Doflamingo because he knows about Imu, and they need that to be stopped right away. And the whole situation with Sabo and Cobra, and like how Cobra saw Imu right away, you're dead as you see Imu. So I think this definitely is opening the doors to a lot of like spooky things in One Piece with the whole Holy Knights. That's why I love this whole Shanks lookalike thing. And also it develops his past a little bit with Figureland Garling and God Valley and what Roger said to him before he made him cry when he asked Roger a question. So I love it, and I think that it's amazing